All right, welcome everyone to the Fall 25 open house. And we've got still people coming in. Uh, and we're going to try to make it an efficient experience here. Keep it to about 45 minutes. Mrs. Miner is here, Rachel, and we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit. And then we're going to start by going through the courses and the book lists and describe what we have in store for the year. And then also after that, I've got a bunch of frequently asked questions. And thank you to those who voted for questions in the poll. I've got 5 top questions that I'll share. I'll still give you an opportunity to kind of take a look at those and see which ones you especially like. And then, of course, there'll be room for other questions. If you are here just kind of curious about the program, the first 2/3 of it will be for you. The last third, we'll spend some time kind of with logistics for the families that are part of the program with with the schedules, like how the Zoom works, um, registration and subscription payments and things like that, logistics. So we'll do that at the end here. All right. We've got a lot of folks here, and I'm going to try my best to keep up with the chat. Might intermittently take a look at that. I will definitely not be able to have everybody on video at once. So if you're making some kind of gesture like, "Hey, Luke, over here," or give me a thumbs up, I may not see it because right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 folks on the first page, and then several more on the second page. Uh, Wait, let me just see. I'm going to stop the share for just a moment to see what it looks like. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Rachel? Pretty healthy attendance for open house? All right, great. Okay. And let me go back to sharing the screen. And if you're just coming in, I'm asking just a general question. What are you especially hoping to learn about today? Um, so let's do introductions real quick. My name is Luke Travers. Many of you know me, but I know we've got several new families and probably a couple of visitors here. This is my 21st year teaching literature, 21st year teaching literature. So I've got experience on my belt. Yeah, and I love it. And this is what my career is. This is what a huge portion of my life is, and this will be something that I will keep doing in some form for the rest of my life. Um, and let's see, Literature at a House specifically, this is, I think, is it our since 2013? So our maybe our 13th year. So we were doing Zoom before it was called Zoom. I think we were doing something called WizIQ back in the day. And that's all I'll share right now. Let's see. Oh, Gabriel, that's so kind. I may not notice everything in the chat, but I will notice flattery. Um, so let's see. Before I head over to Rachel to share a little bit, I want to give a shout out to Tonya, Tonya Fingerhut, who's here with us. And Tonya was our lower elementary teacher last year, and she retired. But I'm glad to have her still kind of visiting in. Uh, so hi, Tonya. And also, if you have any lower elementary children, um, Tonya provided me with a book list for what she would teach this year. So if that's something that you're curious about, I'd be happy to share that with you with Tonya's blessing. But let me pass it over to Rachel. And Rachel, let me spotlight you for everyone and give you an opportunity to
Hey.
say hi.
So I think we figured out that I've been teaching the upper elementary literature at our house for 9 years. I think that's what we said. My son was a participant before that. My background is in nursing. I worked in the hospital and in home health. And then I just really got into literacy. So I work at a literacy center. And I do this Monday, Wednesday, Fridays over my lunch break. Wednesdays are wacky Wednesdays. I often show up with weird things because they are themed days at my work. And the students never laugh at me. Um, let's see. And I think, yeah, that's what I've been doing as far as background. I absolutely love this program, and I just love how it keeps growing, and I keep adding like, "Ooh, that would be a good book," and then we just add it in, and it's just a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so let's get things rolling. And we'll start off by describing a little bit of what we have in store for the courses and for the books. So this is technically our European history year of literature, where a lot of the book selections will be tied to European history. So as you probably know, if you're not, or if you're not familiar, we have mixed grade classes, fourth to sixth grade for elementary, upper elementary, seventh through ninth for junior high, and then 10th through 12th for high school. And during those 3 years, there's this 3 year cycle of different books that we read: ancient literature, European history related literature, and then also in the final year of the cycle, American history literature. So last year was ancient, where the junior high read the Odyssey, and the high school read Medea. So this year, European history year of literature. Uh, that is not the primary standard by which we select the books. Primary standards, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the FAQs, is whether or not these are books that are going to be memorable for the students, that they're going to love. And what exactly that means, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And Rachel, thanks for that book list from prior years. That's very cool. Okay, so Rachel, I'm gonna hand off to you first for discussing upper elementary, if that's okay with you, and then um, I will chime in after you're done there to talk a little bit about the writing workshop, and then we'll discuss the junior high and the high school classes and the writing workshops for those. All right, Rachel, it's all yours.
Absolutely. All right. Well, um, like Luke said, this year has that kind of gist of the European history. We start out with the Book of Three, which is a very adventure story and really tends to help students get to enjoy the fun of seeing a character develop over time with some incredibly endearing characters. You might have your students saying funny things about like coming to lunch as crunchings and munchings. It's extra. We have a lot of fun with that book. We also have the Tales of King Arthur, small chunks. Depending on the year, we flex. That one sometimes includes uh, writing your own tale in the same style as a knight's tale, as a legend. We also have Hatchet, super adventure story about developing again resilience and dealing with difficult situations. I don't know. The other, I love Secret Garden for how much students get to see about choices and how empowering it is. The same thing with From the Mixed Up Files. Students really tend to engage with that. And Q for Treason is super, super fun. Again, super empowering. We integrate poetry throughout. We integrate writing throughout. And one of the favorite activities is often that we do awards throughout the year so that students can say, this is the worst bad guy so far. And then they defend their position. No, this one's worse. No, that one's worse. This is why. And so we have awards throughout the year as we build with more and more characters that we all know and know well, and we integrate the novels throughout.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. If you have particular questions, we're going to allot some time afterwards. But if you want to make sure that you remember the questions, feel free to jot those down in the chat so that they are on the record. I will add a little bit here. I'll be involved quite a bit this year with the upper elementary. I'll be doing the upper elementary writing workshop. I'm also doing a private tutorial group for the upper elementary. So I'll be reading along with many of these books that Rachel is doing. And the writing workshop, which right now we've got one section that's filled up, and I will likely be offering another section. So if you have expressed interest already about an upper elementary writing workshop, I will be reaching out about a possible second one and a time for that. So the function of the writing workshop, and we'll talk a little bit more about particular writing assignments. That's an FAQ, is to supplement the writing that is being done that Rachel is doing uh, in the class. Because the class is discussion based and we're going at a deliberate pace for these books, there's very limited time for spending a lot of class with the writing that you're doing. And the writing that we do in those classes are integrated into the discussion. The goal of the writing is to enrich the discussions that we're having in class, and we're not focusing on developing particular writing skills in the literature class. And that's where the writing workshop comes in. And the writing workshop, what we do often is Rachel mentioned, like doing a story of A Knight's Tale, King Arthur Knights. Then we would take that and we would write a second draft of that in the writing workshop, improve upon it, clarify it, make it more compelling.
Luke,
Um,
no, it still looks
yeah.
like pinned, so you might want to switch the pin back to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, let me spotlight me back again. All right. Okay, is it back to me? All right. I've been doing this for 13 years online, and you would think I'd have it down by now. Okay. All right. So let's go to junior high. And for those of you who are families that are just strictly in the upper elementary, what you can be kind of paying attention to is, okay, what's in store later on? And also, what are the through lines in the kinds of books and the kinds of approach that we have throughout the years through high school? One of the joyous things I take away from teaching this this these classes is I often get to have students that have been with us over many years. And so when we're in the high school class doing, oh, I don't know, Jane Eyre, we make a connection back for some students to the Book of Three back in upper elementary school. And all these characters stay alive with them throughout the years. So junior high. Um, I do want to invite anybody, and I should have said this earlier. If you're a parent and there are books that you see here that you like or especially curious about, if you are a student and you see books here either that you have read before and you want to say, "Oh, I like that one," or "I didn't like that one," feel free to. Or if you are especially curious about one of these, I'm just going to give like a quick thumbnail for each. Miracle Worker, obviously not European history year, but one of my favorite plays to teach the story of Annie Sullivan and Helen Keller, and uh, and what love, what love for a child, what love for someone else can look like, and different forms that takes. Um, we're gonna then go to Beowulf, a new telling, not the original Beowulf and the archaic language, but a novelized version that I've taught many times that I really enjoy. David O'Brien, if you're there, remember you and I having discussions about Beowulf many years, 20 years ago, this particular version, and really enjoying it. Um, and 12 Angry Men. Uh, this play, which is kind of difficult to get in because there are no character names. It's all a bunch 12 numbers, but it is such a great introduction on how to immerse ourselves, especially into plays, by picking up the subtle hints and inferring from subtle hints the personality types that then we kind of distinguish. Oh, juror number 7, he's that talkative, friendly guy. Juror number 10, oh, he's that prejudiced, angry guy. And we get to know these characters by using our inference skills throughout. The big novel of the year is going to be The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And as Victor Hugo makes an appearance in each year of the junior high literature course, he's one of my favorite authors to teach and one of the favorite authors of students over the years. And The Hunchback of Notre Dame in particular is a novel not very different from the Disney movie version that you might have seen about, oh, having self-esteem in spite of your appearance. It's not, that's not what The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo is about. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo is, what does romantic love look like? What are the different ways it can look like? Obsession, sincere, infatuation, and each of the characters have these different feelings and different understandings of what romantic love is in just a rip roaring, compelling plot. And that's, of course, one of the things that our primary selection standards is: does this story have a plot that we are going to love? Cyrano de Bergerac, um, the 19th century play. Many of you might know it from that Steve Martin movie from the 80s, Roxanne, about the dashing, not gentleman, dashing kind of piratish rogue, but poet at the same time, who has a long nose. And he loves the most beautiful woman in the world. And so how does that reconcile itself, especially when the when the young man that the woman loves comes to him to ask him for poetry help? Can you help me seduce this woman that I love? Oh, but oh wait, you love her too? Wait. Okay. And then the Scarlet Pimpernel, another one that we'll definitely get into. If anybody likes superhero movies today, Batman, Iron Man, the genesis for this is the Scarlet Pimpernel, the dual-sided hero set during the French Revolution, saving innocence again from the guillotine, and also another love story. Uh, the curriculum for the junior high, for the book list for junior high, is pretty much set, but I always leave space for substitutions or changes. I've got a couple here: Henrik Ibsen's *An Enemy of the People*, and then a short story called *Boule de Suif* by Guy de Maupassant, also set, well, not the French Revolution. Oh yeah, a later, set in France during a war. One of the things that might affect what books we do is how the year goes with a particular class. So this year, we've added a second section of the junior high. Currently, we've got 10 students in the first section and then 6 students in the other. And the dynamic of those students might affect which books we select, or which ones we'll definitely make sure to include. So that's not a big factor, but it is a small factor as we go along over the course of the year. All right. So if you do have any particular questions about the junior high books or anything, please go ahead and put it in the chat and I'll get to them shortly. But I want to jump over now to the high school. All right. So high school, I started teaching high school about 6 years ago. And the high school has always been kind of the most experimental realm for me. Every year I'm reading. I love discovering new works, new authors, and trying things out with the high school students. Many of the high school students have been with me for many years, but there are some staples that over the years the students have loved. And Jane Eyre is one of them, and that's what we're going to start the year with. And Jane Eyre is a nice kind of transition story that starts off with Jane's character as a young child, a 12-year-old, and then grows into maturity. And she faces a similar kinds of conflicts when she's young as when she's old, having to stand up for herself against those that don't believe her, having to realize that she's an independent being with a mind that she can trust, both as a child and then as an adult. And this is a favorite for high school students. Othello, I have a love-hate relationship with Shakespeare. Shakespeare's language is very often challenging to get into, but what we'll do with it is we'll spend some time immersing ourselves in Shakespeare poetry, get used to it, and then take on Othello, one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. And then one that I taught many years ago, but I haven't taught recently, is Pere Goriot, a 19th century French novel by Balzac about a young man who comes to Paris seeking wealth, seeking his fortune, seeking his career, trying to make it on his own. Uh, and one of these standards, as you might be aware, that we select these books is how do they fit with the students in their life at this time. And as they're getting into like 15, 16 years old, and they're starting to think about, when am I going to move out of my parents' house, and where am I going to go to school, or what am I going to do? This is one vision of how an ambitious young man comes to Paris and gets himself mixed up with maybe one of the worst villains in the history of literature. I'll leave it at that. There is a huge list of more possibilities here, and that will depend a little bit on how the year goes. But I know I'm going to have a Friedrich Schiller play. Schiller is a playwright that I did not really know much of until this summer, and I absolutely adore Schiller, and I can't wait to try him out because I think his plays and his style of writing are something that I think high schoolers will connect with. So I've got The Robbers or Joan of Arc in store. I love to teach an Ibsen play, most likely The Wild Duck, but maybe we might do an Enemy of the People here. Going into the 20th century with Soviet Russia, We the Living by Ayn Rand is one that students have really enjoyed in the past. Other possibilities are plays Saint Joan, another Joan of Arc one, so we just do one Joan of Arc probably, by Shaw. The Cid, medieval Spain, a champion who of the Spanish against the invading Moors, by Pierre Corneille, 18th century French playwright. The Man Who Laughs, that's the one I've taught before, and that's been mixed. So it's one that I oftentimes, if a story is successful or not successful in the classroom, it could be the story, and it could more often not, it's me and how I've taught it. So every year I try to figure out how do I improve the way that I can help students connect with the story. And then we'll get in some more Russian literature. Family Happiness is up there by Tolstoy, but maybe some other authors as well. Maybe some more Dostoevsky. High school students loved Crime and Punishment last year. Okay, so that's a bit here about those. And as I mentioned, go ahead and put any questions you have or any observations or any just highlights there. June FAQ session, frequently asked questions. So we'll discuss some frequently asked questions. All right. So two art appreciation sections, one for elementary. So this comes back to any family that's in the upper elementary. This is open to you, and this is also open to younger children, 1st through 6th grade. And this is dynamic that works, actually. That works well. So the elementary art appreciation, unlike the writing workshop or the junior high art appreciation, is an independent class. It's not tied to the literature class. So even if your child is not in the upper elementary literature class, they can come and join and participate in the elementary art appreciation. The art appreciation approach that we have is not to make art. The art appreciation approach is to read the stories in art, to immerse ourselves in these stories and these moments that are captured. I'm not going to get into it too much here, but that's the other half of me, besides the literature half, is the art half. And I've written a couple of books on art appreciation, and a lot of the underlying ideas about how we approach literature are tied to the underlying ideas of how we approach the visual arts. So if you were curious about that, you can go to touchingtheart.com to learn a little bit more about my approach, touchingtheart.com. But if you have any particular questions about that, there's still plenty of room and the elementary art appreciation. And we meet just once a week, share an artwork like we would open up a novel or book, a poem, and read it together and enjoy it together. The junior high art appreciation. Now, this is connected. This is tied to the junior high literature course. And this year, one thing I wanted to emphasize is making making a big deal about how much writing we do in it. This is not something especially new, but I want to indicate this as an alternative to writing workshop or as an addition to the writing workshop. The the way in which we approach looking at an artwork is not to look or just to record feelings. The way to immerse yourself in the story of an artwork is to describe what you see. So we often write and write and write whatever we're looking at. So the analogy that I've often used, that I like to use, is when we read a novel, it's our job as the readers to picture what we're seeing in order to make it come to life. Picture the characters, picture the settings, picture the action. That's something that we deliberately practice in literature class. But when we have a painting or a sculpture, it's the reverse. You have the image, and to complete the experience, you provide the words. And that means sharing out loud what you see going on, what you think the story is doing, what kind of person this is in this portrait, whatever that is, but also writing it out. Also, the junior high art appreciation, we'll build in some presentations into that, at least one or two presentations that the junior high art appreciation students will deliver to the junior high literature class. I always look for opportunities to give audiences for any kind of work that students do. Because the artworks that we pick out, we're going to be integrating thematically to the books that we read. This will be kind of the junior high art appreciation students being the instructors to the junior high literature class in their presentation. So they'll say, here's this painting that makes me think of characters or a moment from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And then they go through and start off by describing and sharing the story in the painting, and then making the connection, inviting the other students to make the connection. This is the most underrated part of literature at our house. I've thought of and talked a lot about how powerful art appreciation can be. I've given courses on it. I'll put it in this way. I used to train teachers to teach this art appreciation approach. And the teachers that would teach this art appreciation approach were not art teachers, and they were not literature teachers. They were science teachers, history teachers, geography teachers. And the reason that is because the kinds of skills that we use in the art appreciation class transfer over to math, to science, to history. We are formulating hypotheses and checking the evidence in the artwork. We are making observations. We are making historical connections. So this, I see the art appreciation as a kind of capstone for all other subjects in a way. That's a big statement. I really believe that. And it's topped off by the fact that you are using your skills in writing in order to soak up the power and emotion that an artwork can have. So if you have thoughts or questions about that, let me know. Yeah. FAQs. I want to stop here and just answer any particular questions that we have about anything that you saw. There's a lot in the chat, so I'm not gonna get to it. So if you want to speak up vocally, just unmute if you had a question, or I'm gonna scan the chat real quick. Okay. Gabriel, haven't read The Robbers, but Joan of Arc is great. I'm currently in the middle of Joan of Arc for the first time. Gosh, I love Schiller. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead.
What's FAQs?
FAQs. FAQs are frequently asked questions. So these are the kinds of questions that I often get. Sometimes there's a lot of different stuff about literature at our house that I forget to share, and maybe the families come and say, "Hey, what about this part of things? Can you tell us more about that?" Yeah, is that Philip? Go ahead, Philip.
Hello. Is the art appreciation like the junior and middle? Like Not personally special.
What level is it? Is that what you're asking, Philip?
What?
Are you asking kind of what level? Is it elementary or junior high? Is that what you're asking?
Or in каком уровне? Elementary.
Можешь ли ты ходить просто
Or
спокойно?
can I like enter to it?
Yeah. So Philip, you're in the upper elementary class, right? You're
Yes.
Yeah, you'd fit right into the elementary art appreciation class. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
you.
thanks for asking that. Okay, let's see. Gabriel, you're asking what's the pacing for the reading? Pacing and so upper elementary, maybe 10 to 15 pages. Does that sound right, Rachel? Between classes. So chapter 2 between classes. Junior high, about the same, maybe 20 pages. Oftentimes what happens is we have a more deliberate pace at the beginning of the book as we get to know the characters, as we get to know, that's the most challenging part, the beginning of the book, because why do I care? Sometimes we read things that grab you immediately, sometimes we don't. But at that point, we want to make sure we discuss and understand what's going on, what are the conflicts, what are the, who are the characters, kind of get into it. I often analogize it to taking going to an amusement park and going on a ride in an amusement park. You know, you got to build up momentum before you get to the peak. And then when we get to there's often a turning point. This will happen with the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It'll be like kind of a little bit of work. Like, where is this going? There are all these different storylines and what? And then when there's a moment where they all converge, and at that moment, boom, it's downhill and it's thrilling. And then we might pick up the pace a little bit of the reading there. Okay. All right. Alice, you love to read and very excited about the class. Awesome. Okay, so here's a little bit of class participation here. Let's see. Oh, Gabriel, I think you said for elementary, no writing component. Yeah, there's writing incorporated into as Rachel mentioned, there is writing incorporated, but we don't discuss it. It's just we take the writing as is. Whatever a student submits, what happens is we share it anonymously in class, and that's part of the discussion. Okay. All right. Let's see. I've got 5 frequently asked questions here. Which one of these, I'm just curious, are you most curious about? I'm going to answer all of these, but I'm very curious to see which ones right now you are most curious about. First one, how is literature at our house different from a typical language arts class? Second one, and you can just put a number or numbers in the chat. How does literature at our house incorporate writing in our literature courses, which we talked about a little bit? How do you evaluate students in class? How do you evaluate their work? Number 4, this is a parent submitted one that I really like. I've edited it a little bit. A lot of great literature is tragic. How can a young person who is not drawn to tragedy and who is put off by tragic outcomes learn to appreciate, if not enjoy, these works? And number 5, what do Mr. Travers and Mrs. Miner love about teaching literature? Let's see. Hey, Willow, I see your hand up.
What does evaluate mean?
Oh, evaluate means to kind of see your progress, to see how you progress. And I'll talk a little bit about that because I think for a lot of people, evaluate means different things. Like I tell you, you've got a certain level you need to meet, but we don't really have that. I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I'm looking at the chat right here. Question number 3 is popular. Question number 5, question number 1. Let's see, what questions? Question number 5. Okay. All right. Any other votes for which questions look enticing to you? I've got a certain order for kind of what makes sense, and I just want to give you a heads up. We're probably going to go over a little bit of time. I'm going to try to keep it to 50 minutes and definitely under an hour. It's 2:36 on the East Coast. By the way, I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina on the East Coast time. I know a lot of you are in the Pacific time or other times. Okay. April 2 and 3. Okay. So here we go. So I will start off with an answer, and then Rachel, if you want to jump in and share any thoughts. And then for those families who are veterans of literature at our house, if you have thoughts about some of these, how you would answer some of these questions if somebody asked you about it, please feel free to share. Hey, Willow, you got another one?
What's the Lit AOH?
That's Lit AOH is an abbreviation for literature at our house. Literature at our house. LIT AOH. All right, thanks, Willow. All right, first question. How is Literature House different from a typical language arts class? Okay, I'm gonna give quick thumbnail bullet point answers and probably leave a lot of meat on the table because this is something that I should write an article about, or maybe even something a little bit more intense. The focus is specifically on literature. Language arts classes deal with grammar and writing and spelling and vocabulary and all these other things. And often what happens, okay, caveat, it's been a while since I've been in a typical language arts class or kept up on that, so I don't know what the trends are. I'm going by some research I've done recently, what parents say, and then my own experiences. What happens with reading in language arts classes often is they treat it as part of developing your language arts skills and not as developing your enjoyment of art skills. So what that means often is you get fiction and non-fiction blended together. You get paragraphs by historical figures along with short stories. And then once in a while, maybe if you're lucky, you get a book that's longer than 100 pages. Our focus on literature and anything else besides that, like the writing, is in service of enjoying the literature more. Okay. I hope that helps there. Willow, yeah, you have another question? Go ahead, Willow.
What's language arts?
Language arts is a term for describing what a typical kind of reading, writing, grammar class, often they combine all these things together and they call it the language arts. The arts is often like the skill of doing something, the skill of doing things with language. And so it's from that perspective that they incorporate literature. But we want to separate literature out and treat it on its own. Okay. Okay, so just a quick reminder, I'm probably missing a lot of stuff in the chat because there's a lot there. And June, I see, does that require context, or am I understanding sentences? So June, I think I'm missing context for that if you want to follow up on that. And Thomas answers the question. It's more like a time travel, an adventure into literature than a lesson in class, Thomas's mom. Okay, thanks. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were saying
Yeah.
for each one, anything to add? So this where I work is also a school, so I also see a lot of typical, like how typical curricula are presented, and the piece of pulling literature out, of developing a passion and delight in enjoying literature while you're not focused on spelling words and grammar and all the other pieces. That's what I think is like extra special about how literature at our house is different.
Yeah, that's great, Rachel. So when we're reading a novel, we don't have a separate vocabulary section where let's look at these vocabulary words in order to learn vocabulary. No. If we want to know some vocabulary, it's because it's going to help us understand the story better. Okay. All right. Next question. Oh, roger that, June. How does literature at our house incorporate writing into our literature courses? As I mentioned, The writing is an extension of the discussions. And in class, we take the writing as is. I see writing as an extension of thinking and an extension of speaking. So as I'm speaking to you, I could probably, this is going to be a recording, transcript it, and have the nuts and bolts of a rough draft of this answer to this question. And then I would refine it afterwards. Now, there are certain particular skills that we develop in order to be able to immerse ourselves and to get and to gain more meaning from the literature. And we apply those skills in the writing assignments that we do. So a lot of the writing assignments that we do have us understand characters better. So, for example, we're going to read The Miracle Worker, and we've got two parent figures, one the very stern Captain Keller and one the overly kind Mrs. Keller. And one writing assignment that we might do is, okay, here's an imaginary scenario. Can you write out a little play where Captain Keller and Mrs. Keller are your parents and you accidentally explode chili in the microwave? And how would they react? So that kind of writing assignment makes you think about clearly what these characters are like, and then in a kind of creative, fun way, has you capture their personality, their values in a writing assignment. We often also, one big thing is making connections between characters, both within the story and also overall between books. Here's something else we might do. In The Hunchback of Notre Dame, we might take a poem that we studied, like Sonnet 116 by Shakespeare about love, and then ask, how would each of these characters, Phoebus, Quasimodo, Claude Frollo, Jolly, Esmeralda, react to this poem? What would they think about it? As we get more and more into high school, and maybe later in the year in junior high, we offer more options. I think, Rachel, also you do this in the upper elementary. You offer kind of different options for what to write about, but they're all options that help us understand what's going on in the story. And in high school especially, the students start to decide for themselves what their topics are. In the high school class, we have private tutorial sessions to go along over the course of the year with the regular class. And during those, they develop, like, here's the poem I want to present, or here are the characters that I want to integrate together. Like one student took Rochester from Pride and Prejudice, from Jane Eyre, and Othello, and then Tagonoff from We the Living, and compared and contrasted them in a presentation. So there's more self-governance, self-agency in the high school, and we build up to that in the junior high. Okay. All right, let's keep going. This was the most popular question on the survey. How do you evaluate students in class? How do you evaluate their work? We don't give grades. So all of you probably know that. We don't give grades. And I've been thinking a little bit about this. First of all, each student is individual. We have mixed grade classes, and each student comes to us with a different enjoyment of literature, with a different kind of brain, with different sets of skills. And so what we're looking for is not a standard that is being met, but rather an individualized assistance of growth. Halfway through the year, what we do is we have parent-teacher chats. I call them, I like, instead of conferences, I like chats, because I remember I've done parent-teacher conferences. Like, here's what your child needs to get an A. No. What we're looking at in these for your child over the course of the year is how much they start to enjoy and get out of the course that we're doing. Now, I want to, as I mentioned before, if something is not working, the first place I look is myself and what I'm doing in the classroom. Am I not communicating this correctly? Is there some better way to kind of motivate this? That's the thing I'm looking for. But each child, I am also looking for growth in them. And it could be something as simple as a child who is who has trouble memorizing a poem and delivering poem in front of everybody, and then we see them they get half the poem down towards the middle of the year, and we see that improvement, we see that growth. To a child who is uh who is very smart and loves literature already, but then starts to kind of pick up from others what they're seeing to incorporate in their thinking. So they're kind of a list of some kind of skills that we have that we're looking for, some of the ways you use your mind. You're looking for evidence to support your conclusions about characters. You are making connections to your life. You're spending some time introspecting, all these things. And then I'm looking for what a baseline is for each child and then how they grow from that. Rachel, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's really it. You know, the it's very much about growth, and there's not like an assessment where, yeah, like there's some kind of card. We have our chats, and all the writing that they're doing is obviously something that parents can see too. We're not grading it unless it's in writer's workshop, where we don't grade it, but we'll help with drafts.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. Elwin, I see your hand up. Elwin, do you have something else you want to ask or share?
What does evaluate mean?
Yeah. So evaluate means to, you asked that earlier and I gave a kind of response to help see how you can progress. So Elwin, you might be doing something like, all right, I'm not enjoying this book very much. And then I might say, okay, let's see what we can do to help you enjoy this book more. And then if you kind of do enjoy it more, then I'll say, oh, wow, you weren't enjoying it earlier, but now you are. I'm seeing you grow. Or it can also be something on my end where I try to figure out what I can do better. I hope that helps, Elwin. Okay, 2 more quick questions. Oh, I love this question. A lot of great literature is tragic. How can a young person who is not drawn to tragedy and who is put off by tragic outcomes learn to appreciate, if not enjoy, these works? The author of this question put in some examples. I removed them. I don't like the Shakespeare convention of naming what the ending is going to be in a play before you read the play. So I don't like, okay, let's do Shakespeare's tragedies. No. I wish all the Shakespeare plays, Twelfth Night and Othello and Romeo and Juliet and the comedies and the tragedies were all mixed together and we didn't have any distinctions, because I want to preserve the ending for the students, preserve what's going to happen. I'll start off by answering this question like, not every book is going to be every student's cup of tea, and that's as it should be, because every student has their own sensibilities. They're going to grow and develop over the course of time, but at this moment in time, they've got their own sensibilities and they've got the things that matter to them at this point in their life. Part of this course is for your children, for you students, to take on a book that you might not normally take on, to spend time with a protagonist that you might not necessarily immediately identify with, to start a reading level that might be a little bit more difficult than you're used to get to a kind of story that you might not be interested in. So the first thing is, I encourage students all the time to read their own books, read the things that they love to read as we're going along, because with these books that we're reading in class, we're going at a much more deliberate pace and thinking through things. But spend time with your best friends, but also, once every 2 days, come join us as we go to another neighborhood, to another country, and meet some new people. Now, let's see, tragedy. Most of the great literature in the history of the world is tragic literature. I think there is deep value to be gained from tragedy, because one aspect of of knowing how passionate somebody can be about values is seeing what happens when they lose them. Yeah. So that's one aspect of it. Now, something else I want to differentiate between tragedy and just mere kind of malevolence, or it's all for naught, or the view of the world that it's wicked, it's out to get you, it's unjust. That's different than a character fighting passionately for what they want and then not succeeding. We're going to encounter heroes and tragic heroes. And one of the big questions that we ask is, well, first of all, we're going to feel. We're going to feel. And I've had students like start mini rebellions, like, what did you do to us, Mr. Travers? And we want that. We want to experience the feelings that come from feeling like this was unjustly done to this character at the end. We want that. And then what we do is we ask the question, why did this have to happen? Why in this book, in the logic of this world, did this have to happen? And we understand a certain philosophic viewpoint. We understand more deeply a meaning that is trying to be communicated. Okay. All right. I hope that helps. One more question. Oh, Rachel, did you want to add anything?
Nope. We have some things that are not happily ever afters happen in the upper elementary literature, but many of them are about achieving goals, and they don't tend to have as much of the intense tragic hero that Hugo does.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. Okay, what do Mr. Travers and Mrs. Miner love about teaching literature? When I was thinking about this question, first thing that popped into my mind is I got an email on July 14th, Bastille Day, from a former student who was last year, who's no longer with our program. And it was just and I hadn't heard from him since the end of the school year. And it just said, Happy Bastille Day, Mr. Travers, in honor of Gauvin and Simardin, who are characters from 93. Victor Hugo novel that we read last year. And that captures a couple of things that I love. One is the love that this student has for what they've read and how it marked them. And then the kind of bond and connection I form with each of the students. It could be something that just lasts a year. It could be something that lasts many years, but that is something that I look for. I am excited every time I step into class to find out what are the students going to think about what we just read. And that's when I'm on pins and needles. How are they going to respond to this? What are they going to notice? What are they going to enjoy? Okay. Rachel, you want to share anything?
Yeah, I love the passion developing. I'm looking at at Ariana and Philip in the chat talking about a book that I added last year because I was like, this would be an amazing literature at our house book. And I love finding out what students relate to, what brings that joy. And I love the passion, right? So when we get into these, these awards, students have an intense response to like that this is a better hero and this is why, and he's a worse bad guy and that's why, and this is the best book of the year and this is why. So I just love I love seeing the responses and I love enjoying them, and I love the writing. I love when students connect to a character and they're like, and that's the piece I'm going to take with me. That's powerful.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Okay. I think we're going to wrap up the kind of content of the courses portion, FAQs, all that here. If you want to stick around to hear a little bit about logistics, course schedule, this is something I will have follow-ups and emails for current families. But if you were taking off now, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm looking forward to this year with everybody. And now let me kind of share some information here. So I don't think this is going to matter much to anyone here. Just one couple little things I want to mention. The junior high art appreciation is on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and I think I had that in error as on being on Wednesdays on the website at one point. So junior high art appreciation is Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern time, so not at the same time as the second section of the junior high literature. And then I'm looking very likely to add a second writing workshop, but I'll be contacting families about that. I want to take a quick look, let's see, at the calendar.
Hey, Luke.
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right, you had said before that the writing workshop was going to be at 2 p.m. on Thursday. So now it's been moved to 3 p.m.
Let's see. Sorry. Oh, shoot. This is, you know what? It is 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Thursday. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I let my cat do the logistics, my cat George, and so I don't have a scapegoat, but I try to make it a scape cat. So if there are any
Okay,
errors,
no worries.
that's blame my cat. All right, yeah,
No
2
worries.
p.m. 2 p.m.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for catching that.
Mhm.
Okay. Calendar here. I want to point out it's tough with calendars to match up spring breaks and so forth, and especially in the spring. I know we have different times at which we're doing spring breaks and traveling, so that's understandable. One thing I want to point out is right here, January 6th through 10th, will be parent-teacher chats, and you'll notice that I think Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of that week, we will not have class. The classes resume on January 8th. So it gives us a few days to do parent-teacher chats. And then if we have more parent-teacher chats, we'll go over. That will be the time where it'll take 15, 20 minutes. We'll share with you our highlights of what your child has done over the year and their development and what we're looking forward to in the second half of the year. Okay. Any questions here about the calendar? All right. Okay, so this might, let's see. Philip?
Yeah, it's Philip now.
Yeah, hey.
I a little bit confused about the January 8. So the kids will have the class January 8 or not? Only
Yes, classes resume January 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Мам, нажимай сюда.
All right, thank you. Okay, some logistical info. Zoom link setup and all that is remaining the same. So there are no significant changes from last year. So if you're familiar with the setup from last year, you'll be just fine. What happens is we send out 1 hour beforehand an automated email. My cat George sends out. No. Our admin Steve. Shout out Steve. Sets up automatic emails to send out the Zoom link 1 hour before each class. The Zoom link is the same for that class. So you could just copy that link for the junior high literature section 2 and keep it as something that's there. But what we found is it's really helpful to just send out that email reminder, and sometimes Zoom links get lost, or depending on who's getting the email and who's clicking, we'll just keep that up. The recordings are available same day, I think 6 p.m. Eastern time, and maybe a little bit later because we've got the second section of the junior high. But for most classes, probably 6 p.m. Eastern time, so 3 p.m. Pacific time, but at least same day. We'll figure out the routine on that. And they'll all be on the Literature at Our House website on a page protected by a password, a very simple password. And I'll send that out. Now, the at-home setup. I don't know. Everybody has their different setup for things and different logistics. If the quieter the space, the better. The fewer distractions there are on the computer itself and around, the better. We do a lot of in-class participation, so limiting background noise is really helpful. That will help the rest of the class, but also I think help your child to want to participate if they are feeling comfortable doing that. And then, okay, registration subscription. Most of you have registered. You've got that done. Subscription payments for the classes, not for tutorials, for the classes happen at the end of the month. At the end of the month, not at the beginning of the month. So I'll be reiterating that, but that's often a point of confusion for us because I think we do it a little bit differently. Subscription payments for the classes happen at the end of the month. I'll be sending out information on that later on. I think that's it. Any final thoughts or questions that anybody has? Oh, we've gone over an hour.
Hey, Luke, can
Yep.
you would it be possible when you send out like the email that has all of the stuff that you were just talking, like the administrative stuff, would it be possible to just include what each Zoom link is so that we can set up, like add it to our calendar entries?
Yeah. So what's
You
going to
just
happen?
blew my mind when you told me that the Zoom link was the same from last year. I was like,
No. So it's not the same from last year.
no,
The Zoom,
but like it
yeah,
was
it's going to
same
be the same.
every
One Zoom
time.
link for like the upper elementary
Yeah.
writing workshop is going to be the same. I know it's.
I had no idea.
It's so what's going to happen is there's going to be a mailing list for just the upper elementary writing workshop, the mailing list for the junior high section number 2, and what you're going to do is you're going to get an email from me
Yep.
with with the first Zoom link for that class, and then you could just copy and paste that and put it on your calendar.
Perfect.
And so
Okay.
it'll be right there.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Thomas, Elena, you currently have it, the art appreciation class Thursdays, 1 p.m. Pacific time. That's correct.
Right. Is it the right time?
That is the correct time. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank
And
you.
it's always good to double check with me.
Thank
All
you.
right. Good. Any more questions? If I missed something in the chat, if you want to bring it back up. I'll stick around for a few more minutes, but I'm going to say an official goodbye to everyone. Thank you all for joining, and I look forward to a wonderful year. Rachel, any final words?
I'm looking forward to it too. I love teaching this literature class, and it's a lot of fun.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you in class.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay.